What the hell? Oh my god, no way, yeah.
Honestly, just call it frame lock at this point. So if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, the first 3 episodes of Blue Lock have just released from the newest season. And honestly, a lot of people were shocked. Like, why is one of the most popular animes right now is having a PowerPoint presentation and a frame lock on every freaking scene? Why every scene has an era surrounding it, but it's not even a scene, it's just a picture of an era surrounding it, and not even good era. I mean, the animation is so bad that it makes the 7 Deadly Sins animation looks like a masterpiece. Because at least in the 7 Deadly Sins we got 7 frames per second, here we're just having 1 frame, and not even per second, per minute. I mean, is the studio so shitty? No, because we have a lot of examples on that. They do make a lot of good animation. We have Season 1 as a proof of that. We have Reincarnated as a Slime, the 7-bit studio, as you guys know, is responsible for creating the amazing fights, and I got Reincarnated as a Slime. I mean, episode 1 looks promising. I mean, it had like some bad scenes in it, but still it looked like honestly pretty good for season 2, for the start of season 2. But then it went on a downfall. Why? What happened? Was it time constraints? Was it budget issues? Was it all of the above? Let's find out all. First of all, let's look at the release date of Season 1. Season 1 originally aired on October 9 of 2022 to March 26 of 2023. And then on Season 2, the first episode aired on October 4 of 2024. That's like less than 2 years in order to make Season 2, so we know for a fact that they were also short on time and it didn't have enough time to cook in the oven. And it's also confirmed by one of the animators that worked on the show. And I will dive into that a little bit deeper, but let's talk about the time for a sec. As you all know, Season 1 had 24 episodes, but Season 2 has 14 episodes. So does that make it okay for like the time, for it to be like less time but also less episodes? No, because animation as a whole is like a whole process. You're bringing a still frame, a still page into life. There's a lot that goes into it. From basically planning how much of the story are we going to adapt, how many like chapters are we gonna adapt into one episode? Are we just gonna adapt 1 chapter per episode, 2 chapters per episode? Is it gonna be like we're gonna focus mostly on the action but less on the plot? Are we gonna do the opposite? How many storyboards are we gonna do? Because believe it or not, when a lot of the animators, when they worked on the scenes, they worked on the scenes from scratch, so not even like storyboards were handed off to them. And it's not just storyboards. After you do storyboards, you do the roughs, you do the in-betweens, you do the cleanup, you do the line art, you do the coloring, you hand it off to someone who basically have to color every single frame. And you're talking about 24 frames, usually, per second. Sometimes they go into 12 frames or 16 frames to maybe do a little bit of time constraints. But as you can see in the episodes that are airing right now, in the basically, let's call them the fight scenes or the match scenes, you basically see that they are not technically moving. They're basically just grabbing that character and moving him from point A to point B. So why exactly was that decision onto about? I believe one of the biggest challenges that the animators had to face is obviously time, and not just me believing, it's also has been shown to them that a lot of the biggest issues that they were facing is time constraints. There was a lot of scenes and a lot of cuts that were basically cut off from the show because they wanted to make the timeline for the series so they can start airing it. Now you might be asking, why not just delay it and make it easier? Now the thing is, with Japanese television and Japanese broadcast, they usually, when they want to announce a show, they kind of like take a slot in that time for the TV or the channel, and they'd be like, okay, we'll be airing our show in that time slot. So the producers obviously do want to make that happen, and they do want to make the show air in that time. Now, another thing is also greed. As you all know, Blue Lock is really popular. In fact, in 2023, it was like one of the most popular, if not the most popular, among its peers like One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia. It basically was one of those popular mangas that are airing and basically going on. And they also did a movie which basically, as you all know, was just to get more money out of the consumers, and it was basically just a recap movie. It really didn't have anything like new added into it. And season 1 ended on such a cliffhanger that a lot of people were excited to see season 2. They introduced a new character who basically a lot of people made fun and were like, he looks like All Might, which he honestly does. And they did him so dirty in season 2. I mean, if you look at this guy's scene, they were basically all still frames. Why is that the issue? Why is that something that's going on? So another thing, as we said, is the time constraints and also cutting budget. They were basically cutting a lot of scenes from those rushed animators because, as you can see, they had obviously less than 2 years to make season 2, even if it's less episodes. But also, the scenes that they did, they were basically mostly cut off to just make that time. Now you might be asking, why did they cut such good scenes? Well, as I told you, when an animator works on a scene, he's not the only one that's working on it. There is a separate person that does the line art. He basically have to go to each single frame and basically line those lines up so that the coloring person who will do the coloring can go there and basically color those scenes frame by frame as well. So when you put that into time perspective, you basically see like, oh, obviously the line art person or the coloring person or whoever's gonna work after the animator shot is gonna have a really long time, and he will probably not make it to basically finish those scenes. Now you might be asking, why not hire more animators or more people to make this show happen faster and basically not put all the work into one person? Well, as you know, the producers did a lot of budget cutting issues, as you can see on the screen. They wanted to release this show. They didn't give any flying fucks about the quality of the show. They didn't care, oh, it has good animation, or no, why does this look like a PowerPoint presentation? Why are we surrounding all the scenes with era and still images with era? They didn't care about that. They just wanted to get the show out there. So, as you can see, they just cutted those scenes off and they were like, let's just air it out. Because as you all know, Studio 8-Bit, basically the studio responsible for BLUELOCK and Reincarnated as a Slime, is not as big of a studio as, like, let's say MAPPA Studio or Ufotable or Studio Bones, for example. As you guys know, even MAPPA Studio struggled with the time issues. We all know that the Sukuna vs Maharaga fight was only 30% complete of what it was originally intended to be, but still they pushed it out and they got it out there. So with all that in mind, let's go back to the first episode of season 2, because honestly, it did had a lot of amazing scenes in it. We gotta talk about this, because I don't think the show is all bad. I think after episode 1, which is basically the same issue that happened with Uzumaki, they released episode 1 and it was pretty good, but then episode 2 was like basically, you know, not very good. And the same thing with BLUELOCK. They basically released the first episode and it was so good, so amazing, so entertaining, but then they released episode 2 and it was like looking at a PowerPoint presentation. Even the freaking transitions, one of the transitions is basically just flipping a page to make it look like a manga type of immersion and to put you into that kind of immersion. But even in the animation, you're not fully immersed. Honestly, I would advise you to just play it in the background and honestly flip the pages of the manga yourself, because as you all know, one of the guys, a lot of the people agree that the manga itself has more animation than the anime. Like, how wild do you have to go to that perspective? If you go to like 7 Deadly Sins and the animation, that the bad animation that it still had bad animation, but it was still like moving animation. This is like a new downfall. I feel like we should call the 2024 the downfall of animation, honestly, because like of how bad of shows were airing because of time constraints, budget cutting issues. Do I think that maybe they are saving this to like epic final episodes? That might be the case. I think what they're trying to do with what they have of like the current status of the show is that there's maybe gonna be like one more episode or one more scene that's probably gonna be good in the show. Maybe they will have like a couple of good scenes. Another big issue that occurred with the anime itself is that the director of season 1 has quit. The director of season 2 has quit. Not even that, but also one of the animators that we were talking about at the beginning of this video, who was responsible for 5 episodes of the show, and he basically had 20 cuts to work on, he basically also quit. And if he quit, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of animators as well who quit the show as well. So to summarize all the problems, what is all the problems that are facing BLUELOCK? basically time constraints, as we have said that they had only less than 2 years to work on the new season. There was a lot of budget cutting issues and a lot of scenes that were cut from the blue lock, or frame lock we should call it from now on. And for that reason, I think they should release like the animators cut and just call it that, and basically just release whatever the animators were planning on doing or what their original scenes were. And also, the animators, some of the animators have quit the show, as we have said. The season 1 director have quit the show, the season 2 director have quit the show. One of the directors for season 1 for the Nagi episode, if you guys remember, also quit the show. So there was a lot of issues surrounding that, and what basically that means, if season 2 is gonna basically like not gonna have the popularity that it's had for season 1, that probably also means that maybe we'll probably not get season 3. That's also a thing, because as you all know, if the thing that basically, one of the things that makes an anime air for, you know, for a manga, it's basically if it's popular enough. If it's popular enough, they will get announced for a new season. If it's not, and it's not selling well, like from the Blu-rays to the manga and a lot of other aspects, it's not gonna also do well. But I honestly don't think that's the issue. I think there's a lot of hardcore Blue Lock fans who would still watch it, even if it still have like frame locks and, you know, 1 frames per second or 1 frames per minute. I think people are still gonna watch it. Maybe some people are just gonna drop it and keep going from the manga, which is probably the safest option. I'm probably gonna go with that from now on. I'm just gonna keep reading from the manga. But that's all I got, to be honest. That's all the reasons that I could have found on why Blue Lock Season 2 is looking as bad as it is right now. Let me know if you guys have any questions regarding this, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I have been the Manga Viewer, and I'll see you all next time. Matane!